Alright, so I'm here on the rear passenger side. I'm about to replace the rubber brake line. So I have my new stainless steel braided lines from Miata Speed. So I've been looking at all the various lines from different different retailers, and looking at the pictures, looking at all of these fittings and stuff, and the end holes and everything. From what I could tell, they look like they all come from the same company. Obviously Miata Speed doesn't actually make this. They buy it from a supplier. So I think they all come from the same company. Whoever makes this. So I chose the Miata Speed partly because it has it's red, so I don't think you really could see it, but but the main reason why I chose this was because they were probably the lowest cost, I think. This was only $100 for the whole set, all four corners, whereas other folks are selling it for like $110, $120, $130 even, and it's pretty much the same thing, I think. So get more for your money, I suppose. So there's that. So what I need to do here to replace this is have a nut here. This is a 10mm, and down here where the banjo bolt is, this is a 12mm. So 12mm, you could just use a box wrench or a socket wrench. But up here where the line is, you will actually need a flare nut wrench. So this is what a flare nut wrench looks like. All right. Basically, flare nut wrench grabs the nut on five corners. There's one corner that doesn't have, and it's the way that it's made, it's for going over some line somewhere. Then you get into this. Now it's possible that you could use an open wrench for this, but chances are, and most likely, you will strip this. So I don't recommend using an open end wrench at all, because it only holds by two sides, whereas the flare nut wrench holds by five sides, or five corners. So that would be the way to go with her. So 10mm, down here is 12mm. And on the brake kit, here is 17mm. That kind of surprised me. That was that big. And on their banjos, here these are 14mm. So those are the sizes that you need. That then you also need obviously when you take this out, there's gonna be brake fluid coming out, and air is gonna enter the line. Air is gonna enter the line up here, and probably down at the caliper as well. So there's gonna be air in the brake system. So you have to bleed the brakes. So you need some brake fluid. I would say buy the big the bigger bottle of brake fluid, instead of the small little they have the small little one that's like I think it's like 8 ounces or something like that, 8 or 10 ounces. I recommend you buying the big one. I think it's I think the big one is like 1 liter or so. So yeah. All right, so let's begin taking this stuff off. And I am actually missing a little tray to catch the fluid. Let me grab my tray real fast. So yeah, little tray pan here to grab the fluid, to whatever flows out. Oh, you know what? I'm also missing. I'm missing a rag. Let's get a rag. I always use old underwear and old t-shirts and such. So once it wears out or rips up and basically wears out, no reason to throw away. You could you use it for some other purpose. so you save those resources, right? Instead of buying sharp rags and such. All right, so this one is a 10mm, and this is, let me wipe it real fast around here, just because I don't want to. It's a good idea to, you know, if your stuff is all caked up with dirt and stuff, so you gotta just clean it, wash it out. So it's in there. Oh, wow, that was really tight. Yeah, definitely. If you were to use an open wrench, that would have stripped. That straight up would have stripped. So I'm opening this thing and it's all gritty. It feels all gritty because the threads here, you know, from the dirt and stuff that the wheel kicks up, the tire kicks up. This thing totally feels gritty. So there's fluid coming out right there. So here there's this clip that actually unclips. There's actually a little slot right here that you stick a screwdriver or like a little flathead. You could actually pull this out. I actually don't have any. I don't have a flathead with me. I need to go grab the flathead. Before I do that, let me loosen up the bottom one as well, since I'm already here. Oops, this is a 12mm, not 14. Wow, that's tight too. Oof. Oh Jesus, that's real tight, man. And that one was tight, so they're both pretty tight. So the thing with the banjo boat end here is that they have sealing washers on both sides. You cannot reuse those sealing washers. Okay, make sure, because the kit will come with new washers. So use those new washers. Otherwise, you will damage your or not damage. I mean, it will cause a leak. So I don't feel like going to get my flathead, so I'm gonna use this end right here, and hopefully this works. Oh, that works. So you see this, there's a slot right there. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that grittiness. It's definitely gritty right there. Take out the bolt on the top and the bottom. So the bottom's off. That one's easy. The top one's a little bit, well, actually the top one came off easy too. Okay. I'm just gonna wipe these lines a little bit. Yeah, I don't need too much wiping. What you should do is you should wipe the thread here, get all that grittiness off, all that dirt off. Otherwise, it's gonna end up possibly ending up in your brake line. So I'm gonna wipe all right here. Get all that dirtiness off there, all that grit, and you can see. Oh, I can see. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but I can see the grit. Little particles of grit and dirt on the threads there. So that's still not quite clean enough. Let me grab a old toothbrush. Always have an old toothbrush around. It's always handy. So I had wiped it already, so it's pretty dry. So that way the dirt doesn't stick to the threads, and that looks pretty clean. So one more wipe just in case, just to keep it dry. Make sure it stays dry so it doesn't have grit and stuff on there. Okay, so that's good. So now for my line. So that was an easy one. It's basically the lines right here, bottom end, top end, and it goes, you know, like so. So this type of fitting here is a flare type. The line here is flared out. So how that works is that flared out end on this line here, you can see that how the end here is flared out. That end, when it goes in here, this has a kind of like a cone shape. So the flare end will and the cone shape will sort of mate together, and as you tighten it down, they tighten up together, and that's how they seal. So that's how that works. So I'm just gonna go like so. So this is interesting right here. I'm looking at this thing and I wonder how far in this piece could go. And it looks like it can make it. It looks like it's the same height as the stock one. It seemed like it was almost not the same height as far as going in right here. Actually, let me see this real fast. Oh, this one goes up higher. This way here is smaller, so it can actually go in there. Whereas this thing, it's not. Oh, you know what? That was. Nope. Wait a minute. No, it's not fitting. That's interesting. It's not fitting. So this end here, there's a hex here, right? There's a hex shape that fits in here, and this one obviously has the hex shape too. But it seems like this one might be bigger. Or you know what? It's not bigger. It's me. So on here, there's actually one corner that doesn't have. See, you guys can see it this way. See this corner right here is rounded, so you need to find that rounded corner. So I was mistaken. Let me wipe this down in here. Wipe that surface clean as well. I don't want to have the grit between the between that nut shape and here. Okay. So that was my mistake. Now I just need to find where that. There it is, right there. Usually with lines, you know, anytime you have some type of line or hose, it's never straight. You know, there's always a curve to it. That's because, you know, being a long hose is how it's stored is wrapped up on a spool. So that's where that curvature comes from. So you know, use that as your advantage. So have it curve over to the caliper here. And good thing for me is that the face here also has the same angle as where it bolts down to right here. So it's perfect. See that? So that's like a perfect fit, pretty much. Oops. Actually, let me get this clip on here. So that's that clip. Right, that clip. So it was how was it? It was like this. With this thing like so. And basically just push it in. It's gonna be tight. It was tight getting it off. Actually putting it on was a little bit easier. Okay, so that still swivels. So I'm not gonna tighten down this top nut yet. I'm gonna, because once that top nut tightens down, this thing right here can't swivel anymore. So I'm gonna put that banjo bolt through there. The banjo bolt through. So So banjo bolt, right? Basically, it's a hollow bolt with the two holes, and yeah, I have my two sealing washers here. So I'm gonna have down one side, feed it through, and on the other side, feed it through, and basically it's sandwiched the two. And down here, basically just screw it on. So down here, it's actually clean. I actually didn't even have to wipe it. Everything looked clean. I didn't see any grit or anything like that. So it's gonna be something like that. So now I need a 14, and the top is still a 10. 10, where's my 14? Okay, my 14 here. In this case, I'm actually using, you know, a box wrench. I think box wrench, I have, you know, there's no movement to a box wrench except for where the interface is. So it has a little bit better feel because it's solid. There's no movement unlike a socket wrench. And this is a sealing washer, so it actually it will actually crush down a little bit. You know, they're basically, I think these ones are neither made of aluminum or they're made of copper. You know, some soft metal that could get crushed down, and that's how they seal. Because if you use steel washers, you know, because steel washers is too hard, it can't get crushed down, so you won't be able to seal. Because, you know, the surfaces are not perfectly flat, so that's why you need it to crush down to conform to the surface. So I'm not sure what the torque spec is on this. I don't think it's very much. It's probably, actually, let me look at the instructions, see if they give you a torque spec at all. Oh yeah, there is a here, 12 to 14 foot-pounds, so it's not that much for the banjo bolts. 12 to 14. I'm not gonna use a torque wrench, I don't think, because I think I have a good feel to my because I've been doing mechanical type stuff for a long time, so I have a very good feel to how things are. But you know, if you're new at it or you're not sure, just use a use a torque wrench. So you don't want to, you know, these are brakes after all, so you don't want to screw up and not do it properly. And up here is, I think up here is probably about the same, probably about 12 foot-pounds or so. Let's see if this instruction says anything about that. Blah blah. Doesn't say anything. Only talks about the banjo bolts, which is the one on the bottom. Okay, so that's basically it. So the thing with this up here is that it's kind of hard to have a torque wrench on here because you need a special fitting. I think they call it the, God, what was the name of that tool? They call it a crow's foot, I believe. You need a flare nut, you know, just like or flare nut wrench fitting. So basically, it's the head is like this, right? It's like this, but instead of a whole wrench, it's basically just the head, and at the other end of the head here, there's a little square drive for basically a socket wrench. You know, like a 3/8 drive or a 1/2 inch drive or whatever. So that's the type of tool that you would need. So that way you could attach to your torque wrench, and you could torque it down that way. But because you put the because the torque wrench is based on the torque where the attachment would be, right? So if you're using a flare nut, a crow's foot for a torque wrench, the numbers will be off. So you have to figure out, you have to do some research and figure out what the actual, whatever the torque reading on your torque wrench is with this, because this because of that distance, that increased distance right here, it actually will amplify, increase your torque number. So let's say, for example, you put your torque wrench at 10 foot-pounds, right? 10 foot-pounds, but when you put it on here and you actually torque down because of this longer length, it gives you a little bit more leverage. When you have 10 foot-pounds here, over here when you're actually screwing, it's going to be a little bit more than 10 foot-pounds. So be aware of that. Okay, so it's up to you to figure out what that is, because every pro's foot wrench is a little bit different, because the distance here, how the distance is, will change that leverage ratio. So that's why you have to figure that out. And if the company that you buy that tool from it's good, they should tell you what how to do the math. Multiply it by how much percentage to bring the numbers into a proper amount. Right, so I tightened this up already. I tightened this down here, and that's it. That's basically done. All I need to do now is bleed the brakes here, and I'm done. All right, thanks for watching.